188, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so there's 0 nays. We have met the 80% threshold and the motion carries. This application will be discussed when we get to the BZA variance applications.
Debbie, the Emory one is now on the agenda, is that correct?
Yeah, that one did not come off the agenda.
Okay, thank
There
you.
was a link to the November application that some folks got, but it has been there.
Thank you.
We're good. All right, approval of minutes. The November minutes were posted on the NPU-F website and a link was sent to those on the NPU mailing list. Are there any corrections or modifications that need to be made to the November minutes? Seeing or hearing none, are there any objections to adopting the November minutes? Okay, the minutes are adopted. All right. The next, I have no announcements tonight. We'll move into reports from city departmental representatives. Is there anyone here from Atlanta Fire? I don't see anyone from Atlanta Fire. Then we'll move to Zone 2. I think I saw Captain.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good, Captain. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. I just wanted to provide a quick update on Zone 2 as crime looks overall. Year to date, we're down 3% overall in Zone 2. And the only 2 crimes we're up in are shoplifting, which we're up 33%, which we've seen a spike here during the shopping season at these retail stores, as well as the mall, as well as both malls, both Phipps and Lenox. But we're looking pretty good overall. In the second category, we're up in is motor vehicle thefts, and we're up about 6% in motor vehicle thefts.
Thefts.
Car thefts?
Yes, motor vehicle thefts. That's correct.
Okay, go ahead, Captain.
Okay, so the other concern Major Mitchell and I want to focus on in NPU-F specifically during the last 28 days, the biggest issue we've had is vehicle break-ins. We've had 6 vehicles broken into, and there's no real patterns. One was at 1155 La Vista where the apartments had burned down, and that's the main thing we're seeing. And then also people leaving firearms in these vehicles, leaving their items in vision or visible through the windows. So we just would emphasize clean car campaign. If you're going to leave an item, a bag, a computer, store it in your trunk of your vehicle. We wouldn't recommend storing a firearm in your vehicle unless you do have a lockbox that's attached to or affixed to the vehicle. So that's the main crime issues in Zone 2 in NPU-F. As for today, I'll touch on the fire on the bridge early this morning at Cheshire Bridge in Faulkner. Right now, as many of you probably heard or seen, that we do have it barricaded off. Atlanta DOT was able to barricade the bridge. They're doing assessments on the bridge to see how we can move forward and how fast and safely that bridge can be reopened for vehicle traffic. And we're also getting with Public Works to actually clean and remove debris, trash, and other things that have been put underneath the bridge down there. So I'll take any questions if there are any.
If you have any questions for the captain, please raise your hand and you'll be called on in the order that your hands go up. Todd Corley? You
Hey,
can,
Debbie. I don't necessarily have a question, but I do just want some clarification from the chair, please. As mentioned in email, I do have a prepared statement from some members of the community in regards to one, the specific issue, as well as just other issues associated with this. Is now a good time, or shall I wait till later in the meeting?
who is the statement addressed to?
All of NPU-F, the neighborhood, the community at large, Councilman Alex Wan, a number of individuals.
Okay, is APD one of the folks?
They are not, but I did not realize that their involvement in managing and maintaining the project or initiative.
So if you think it's something that APD would have.
Okay, we can move. Well, I can save it till later then, because it's not specific to APD. But thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Mark Arnold?
Yeah, I was just wondering what bridge you're talking about. Is this the new bridge over the creek, or is it the bridge over the railroad?
It's the bridge south of that, sir. It's over the railroads. That one is correct, the railroad.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Mark. Jess Wilder?
Thanks. So you mentioned cleaning up under the bridge where the fire was last night. Are there cleanups going on around any of the other bridges where there's substantial piles of debris?
Yes, there are. So we are working with Atlanta DOT, Georgia DOT, as well as Public Works to address every bridge that is in Zone 2. In light of the fire 6 years ago, fast forward to 2019, and then now we have this incident as well. So it's a matter of negotiating and finding out who that property belongs to. And sometimes there's some back and forth, but once we get that ironed out, our community policing unit, along with Public Works and Zone 2 officers, will go out there, will clean the area, and provide resources to any of those residentially challenged that will accept them. And as many people know, that's just an uphill battle that we're working with.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. Is there someone here from Zone 6?
Yes, I'm here, Lieutenant Butler.
Oh, hey, Lieutenant Butler, go ahead.
So kind of the same crime trends are around the city, like Captain Vanes mentioned. We're looking at, we're actually down in theft from vehicles right now. But of course, our auto thefts, I mean, they're 100% higher than we were last year, mainly due to the Kia Hyundai issue. And we have seen a spike here recently. I know the schools let out this past week. So we have seen a spike. So we've reallocated some of our resources and our efforts to apartment complexes and shopping complexes as well as the holiday season approaches. Our crimes against persons are down for the year, which is great. And like Captain Vane said, you know, what we're pushing is don't leave your items in the cars. You know, a lot of the guns that we recover are stolen. Believe it or not, the individuals don't go to Venture Outdoors and buy guns. They just steal them. But we do encourage people to invest in cameras. The camera issue for us really helps out, especially with like a package thefts or anything. Connected land is something that is very beneficial to our detectives. It narrows down where they need to go. You can just register your camera, which is something that I would do personally. It just lets us know, hey, there's a camera there. We need to go right there and try to collect some data. And it does aid in speeding up the investigation. I know a lot of times people don't use their cameras and keep them running all the time, but anything helps. I did want to touch on, we did have a homicide on December 11th on Ponce, and that individual has since been arrested. He was arrested 2 days later. So I just want to pass that along. I know people that are on the Ponce corridor there in the Virginia Highland might be concerned about that, but it was an isolated incident and he is in custody. But that's really what we're looking at. I know our North Highland area is usually our hot area for theft from autos. But we've seen a slight uptick there, but our crime has kind of moved more towards the Grant Park area since we do border kind of with Zone 3. That's usually typically where our suspects flee to. But that's really what we're looking at. Like I said, crimes against persons is down, property is up, but mainly if it wasn't for the Kia Hyundai issue, we would probably be looking very good this year. Other than that, anybody have any questions or areas of concern for us?
This would be for zone 6, okay?
At first, I'd like to commend you for arresting that guy so quickly. That went a long way toward putting people's mind at ease. And also, I'd add, and I'm sure you're aware of this, we've been having an issue in Virginia Highland and in some other neighborhoods in Zone 2 as well, with homeless folks who are really pretty aggressively panhandling and being really problematic in our commercial corridor. And we've got parents starting to say, you know, I don't want my kids to go to the ice cream shop because, you know, these men are hanging around. So just wanted to raise that. I know everyone is aware of it, and we're trying to work on it, but it's really becoming a problem in that neighborhood.
Okay, yeah, I have been passing along this past week, especially with the temperatures dipping. I know, you know, the residentially challenged will tend to go into a business and kind of hang out there. So we have been pushing more quality of life concerns, just simple things. That way we can maybe relocate them to a shelter. And I know just the other day there's a male that stays under the bridge on Moreland and Caroline. He was arrested just the other day for lighting a fire once again. So hopefully he'll stay there, but there is a city charge for that, which we push out all the time. But it is definitely something on our radar, like you said.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Captain Butler? John, I could turn up, unmute.
Now,
John, there you go.
okay, good. What was the outcome from Zone 6 toy drive this year? I belong to the front porch where there were a lot of toys accumulated to go down to Zone 6, but what was the total outcome for the drive?
I do not have an answer to that. That's typically handled by Officer Stanios on day watch. But I'll check in with him, and if you want to leave your contact information, or I can pass it along to Miss Stevenson. But I know there were quite a few presidents up front, so I think it went well. But I'll have to double check with Officer Stanios directly.
Yeah, if you want to pass that to me, I will share it with the rest of the safety folks in the NPU and the zone.
Great.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. Captain Vane, Captain Butler, thanks for being here tonight. Happy holidays to you both and stay safe.
Thanks, you too. Have a good night.
Thank you. Officer Francis from Public Works Suite.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, good evening. Nothing major to report this afternoon. I really just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and prosperous 2024. Just a reminder that come next week, you're going to have a day delay as it relates to your collection next week and the other week. There's nothing major to report in this season. If there is any concern that you have to raise, I'll take those information and report back. bright and early come 2024.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight. Cheyenne Forbes, you have an ATL 311 report.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Cheyenne Forbes, and I'm your 311 ambassador. If you need to report any non-emergency issues like potholes, water main breaks, missed trash, code violations, or challenges with city services, 311 offers 5 pathways to resolution. You can either dial 311 on your phone Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You could email us at atl311@atlantagA.gov. You could set up your own account at www.atl311.com. You could download the ATL 311 mobile app and chat with our virtual assistant, or even contact us through social media as well. Our contact information and a survey link has been placed in the chat. I'm here today to answer any questions about 311 services, document any cases requiring escalation, and to have someone follow up with you directly. I will ask that for those who are able to use the chat function to utilize the chat at this time for questions and reporting issues. And for those who cannot, I will open up the floor now with my remaining time on the agenda to assist. And as always, thank you for allowing me to present, and happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Does anyone have any questions that can't be resolved in the chat? I don't see any hands raised, Cheyenne. Thank you for coming tonight. Okay, are there any other city representatives that are here to make a presentation? Okay, I don't see anyone else. Are there any elected officials here? I didn't see any. I went through the list and I didn't see any, but I don't want to overlook anyone. Okay. Then we are going to move to the consent agenda. This is the one-page sheet that you can find in the chat. These are applications that this NPU generally approves with little or no discussion. The first application is V2381 at 638 Park Drive. The applicant has asked for a deferral for his application. The next application is V23-148, 1687 North Pelham Road. This is also a deferral. And then there are 3 applications for approval. V23-166 at 1264 Beach Valley Road. The applicant seeking a variance to reduce the rear yard setback from 15 feet to 4 feet, reduce the western side yard setback from 7 feet to 1 foot, and increase the floor area ratio floor area of an accessory structure from 30% floor area to 38% of the main structure. Morningside is recommending approval. They conducted a site visit. The neighbors have been notified. There's no opposition, and they indicate that there's no change to footprint or no trees impacted. The next application that is recommended for approval is in Virginia Highland, V23-179, 938 Highland Terrace Northeast. The applicant seeking a variance to reduce the front yard setback from 35 feet to 28.5 feet and reduce the western side yard setback from 7 feet to 4 feet to construct an addition to an existing single-family dwelling. Virginia Highland recommends approval. They conducted a site visit and the neighbors have been notified, and it was unanimously approved. And the last one, excuse me, is V23-182 at 1845 Haygood Drive Northeast. This is in the Druid Hills neighborhood, actually at Emory University. The applicant seeks a variance to allow a reduction in the wayfinding sign setback from 10 feet to 2 feet from the public right-of-way line at its nearest point. Druid Hill Civic Association have no objections. They ask that care be taken not to impact the trees and do recommend approval. And the last application is a special events application. This is the Atlanta Persian Festival. It's a Class D event, 2,000 participants. This is a recurring event. I think it's been in front of the NPU multiple times. It is to be conducted at Piedmont Park, April 7th, 2024, and the recommendation is to support. Is the applicant present for the special event, the Atlanta Persian Festival?
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
we're glad.
Is there anyone here that wants to take any of those applications off the consent agenda so that they could be discussed later in the meeting? Are there any applicants here that would like to have their application taken off the consent agenda so that it can be discussed during the meeting? And is there anyone here that's opposed to any of these applications? If the answer is no to all those questions, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Kay. Is there a second?
Second.
I think I heard Rich first. Okay. Just as a reminder, the consent agenda will be approved if there is 100% yes votes. So if there's any applications on here that you are object to them or oppose them, we can take them off the agenda and discuss them later. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please raise your hand. And you guys are getting good at this.
I see one person clapping, one thumbs up,
Okay, clapping and thumbs up disappear after 10
two
seconds.
thumbs up.
Okay, so Lordy. Okay, I count 2 claps. I count 24 ayes. Okay, you'll have to take them down. Oh wait, oh, I can do. I found the button. Great.
Okay.
Sarah, did you want to oppose the consent agenda? Or is your hand left up from the last vote? Sarah Hamlin. Or do you have a question?
No. I'm sorry. I meant to just I support. I don't know
Okay,
what my
I'm
hands.
going to take your hand down. All
Thank
those,
you.
You're welcome. All those in favor of, I'm sorry, all those opposed to approving the consent agenda, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. By a vote of 24 ayes and 0 nays, the consent agenda is adopted. Okay, I have to get back to my consent agenda. Okay. Thank you for doing that. Next item on the agenda is the alcohol license applications. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jane Rawlings, who is our outgoing alcohol license chair.
Thanks, Debbie. I'm going to first go over the Kroger application. And that is Kroger Company doing business as Kroger store number 298. It's at 1700 Monroe Drive in the Piedmont Heights neighborhood. The agent is Christopher Huell. Is the applicant here?
Hey, Jane, this is Mindy Thompson with Start and Left. I know I saw Christopher on here.
Yes, ma'am. I'm on here as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is an application for a change of agent at an existing grocery store with an existing retail package license for the sale of beer and wine for off-premise consumption. The property is zoned commercial, will operate Monday through Sunday from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. NPU-F has received no complaints regarding operations at the location. It was the recommendation of Piedmont Heights Civic Association to approve, and I will also make that my recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Mindy, Mr. Hewell, is there anything you want to add or anything I misstated that you need to correct?
No, Jane, everything was perfect. Thanks so much. Just some background on Chris. This will be his first time serving as agent on an alcohol license, but he has been with Kroger Co. Since 2002. And we're happy to answer any questions that you all may have for us.
Okay, are there any questions for the applicant or regarding the motion to recommend approval? Okay, I don't see any. Are y'all ready to vote? The motion is to recommend approval of the alcohol license at Kroger 298. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, the numbers stop moving, so that's 22. Okay, if you're opposed to recommending approval of the change of agent at Kroger 298, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. By a vote of 22 ayes and 0 nays. The motion carries.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Jane.
Next up is Savvy at Highlands LLC. This is located at 1370 North Highland Avenue. The agent is Mr. Kahul Patel. The applicant is Mr. Sharif. The business owner is Savvy at Highlands LLC. This application is for a new business seeking to operate a specialty food shop, applying for a retail package license to sell beer and wine is my understanding, but it's not marked on the application. So I'll ask for clarification for that in a minute. For off-premise consumption, the property does not have a prior alcohol license issued for the location. So this would be a new license if granted. No live entertainment or customer dancing is planned. The property is zoned MRC 3C. Operating hours are listed as Sunday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. I did have some questions for the applicant. Is the applicant present?
Ms. Rawlings, Dwayne Martin from Martin Walker Newby Attorneys, the applicant, Mr. Kehu Patel, and the franchisor, Mr. Paul Nair, are on the call. We're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. First, on the application, when asked distance from a private residence, the response was that it's not applicable. Could you please explain why not applicable? Was that something that the city recommended or APD recommended, or why is it not applying?
There are several specific distance requirements for different types of packaged licenses in the city alcohol code. Specialty food shops do not have a distance requirement to private residences. So that is why it is marked not applicable.
So if you're operating as a, or if you are seeking, however, a retail package license, then it's my understanding that a distance requirement would be in effect.
That would be correct, but a specialty food shop license is a hybrid license. There's a very specific lower percentage of alcoholic beverages. The It's not the typical convenience store that you see in many neighborhoods. These are very specific types of businesses. Savvy Provisions is a very well-known grocery outlet in the city of Atlanta. Most or all of their locations are specialty food shops based upon the type of inventory they carry and offerings that they carry. And the city has confirmed that the application meets the specialty food shop definition.
So you were advised that section 1088
That is correct.
would not apply?
That is correct. It's not that section 1088 doesn't apply. It's actually, there are several subsections of 10-88.1 specifically, and it's 10-88.1G.
Okay, and you are immediately adjacent to a residential parcel, correct?
That is correct. The property lines do abut one another.
Okay, but legal has advised that the 300-foot distance requirement from residential would not be applicable here. So they're willing to entertain that the use, that the distance requirement will be governed by the use rather than the type of alcohol application that is being applied for.
Well, the use and the type of alcohol application are synonymous. It is a specialty food shop. It is a very specific type of package license. And so the use and the type are synonymous. Specialty food shop is both the type of license and the use. And that type of license does not have a distance requirement to private residences. If this were a garden variety convenience store that may sell 70 to 80% packaged beer and wine, then it would have to meet that distance requirement. But again, Savvy is not. It's more of a high-end grocery market. And Mr. Nair and both Mr. Cahool are on the call and can talk more about the offerings of the business and that type of thing. But from a legal standpoint, because it is a specialty food shop, it does not have a private residence distance requirement.
And the status of the distance waiver from another specialty food shop, can you update us on that? That has passed?
That has been passed. It was passed by the city council earlier this month. It went into effect by operation of law 8 days after the city council meeting. So there was a request for a distance waiver just for the entire body. We have been working with the neighborhood since December of last year, and Councilmember Alex Wan and Councilmember Matt Westmoreland on a distance waiver for the distance to the nearest specialty food shop or packaged wine shop. That ordinance waiving that distance requirement was granted by the city council. It went through a pretty exhaustive review by the affected neighborhood. There were multiple changes to the store's business plan based upon the neighborhood's concerns, and we were pleased to obtain the neighborhood's unanimous support. We went through the NPU process last month on that waiver. After the NPU voted to approve the waiver, it then went before the city Public Safety Committee and was voted unanimously out of the Public Safety Committee, and then voted for approval on consent by the Atlanta City Council and approved after 8 days from the council meeting.
And as I read the ordinance, the waiver applies only for the sale of beer and wine, and that is the intent of the agent and applicant.
That is correct. There will be no spirits sold at this location.
The ordinance. This is Greg Pridgeon. I'm a consultant working with Savvy and Mr. Martin. We made sure that there was no language in there to reference to spirit. There was a mistake in the ordinance. The NPU, I think, pointed that out in our discussions. We had the committee to remove that language. And so it was presented to the city council without any reference to spirits. Addition to that, Councilmember Juan did want to make sure that he voted no on it. As a principle, he does not support distance waivers for alcohol permits. So he made sure that it wasn't unanimous before the city council. So he voted against it.
Okay, and final question for me. What's the square footage of the establishment, including storage? So total square footage for the establishment.
Hey, this is Paul there. This is Rawlings. It's about 4,100 square feet. That is including the storage and the back room and all that.
Okay, and are there any plans to expand it?
No,
And the
no, our
tax,
typical size is about 3. I'm sorry.
okay, no, go ahead. I'm
Our
sorry.
typical store size is about 3 to 3,500. So this is a little bit larger, so we'll have a little bit more seating area.
And the reason I ask, the code states that a specialty food store must be less than 5,000 square feet. And so when I researched the site on the Fulton County Tax Assessor, it shows it as almost 5,300 square feet. So I was seeking clarity there.
Yeah, there is a cleaners that occupies a portion of that building. And so Savvy does not occupy the entire building footprint.
Okay, and Mr. Pridgeon, you're satisfied with the survey they've presented to the city that shows that, and that their square footage is in compliance?
I am satisfied with that, yes, and we appreciate working with the community. The doctor for the neighborhood association and all of his colleagues and your NPU chair and all of you have been very gracious with your time. And we think that the process has been good for the community and acceptable to the owner.
Okay, thank you. And if MLPA would like to provide their report, please, since it's a new business. Is anybody here to speak for MLPA? If not, I'll state what they forwarded to me. Okay. I was advised that the committee recommended approval of the license application based on the accommodations made by Savvy in response to concerns of neighbors regarding hours of operation until 11 p.m. And the board approved by majority vote with one dissenting vote. So regarding the hours of operation, what are they ultimately going to be? Is there a change from what was stated on the application?
Dwayne, do you want to address what?
There was discussion about the hours of operation at the neighborhood meeting. There were some concerns that the 11 o'clock timeframe was late given the proximity to adjacent residential properties. The proposed hours of operation, as Mr. Nair stated at the neighborhood meeting, are conceptual and will be adjusted based upon demand. This is intended to be a neighborhood store, and the plan is for the facility to serve the neighborhood. And so he is willing to adjust the hours downward if there isn't a demand for later operation, and that seemed to be satisfactory to the neighborhood based upon their vote.
Okay, so just so everybody understands here that what we will be voting on, the application states a closing of 11 p.m. So that's what we would be voting on. That's what's stated in the application before us. So I hope the neighborhood understands. Any questions from the body?
You have a question, please raise your hand. Oh, Rich Sussman. Sorry. Rich, don't forget to unmute. There you go.
Jane, would it be helpful on further applications as stated in this particular application, there was a special provision in the alcohol code, which allows this type of establishment to have an alcohol license, given the distance requirement. Is the specific code citation usually included in the application?
Mr. Sussman, no. The application is pretty standard and we don't have control over the fields. There is specific information you enter into each field. That's populated on the city side. The city actually generates the application that is then produced and submitted and circulated to the neighborhood. I do know that the technical advisory group is looking at the city's website and ATL core system to see if there can be improvements. We had a lot more flexibility when we submitted paper applications to make notations on the applications, like the one you suggest. We could make references and the like that you suggest in this instance, but unfortunately, the ATL core system does not allow some of the notations that we made when we submitted paper applications in the past.
Okay, I understand. I think it would be helpful because I think some of this discussion probably wouldn't have had to have taken place. And for reasons of transparency, I was not aware of this particular section of the code. And I think people may be aware of it now. For maybe somebody else wants to come and do the same thing. I have another question. In other stores, in other neighborhoods, how late do you normally stay open? Is it 10, is it 11, is it 9? What's been your experience?
Well, I mean, during the, excuse me, Mr. Sussman. So during COVID, of course, we closed at 9 because, there were restrictions and all kind of stuff. Now, most of the neighborhood actually request us to stay open late. So we kind of kept the standard open at 7, close at 11, because sometimes, and this demand came from actually right during COVID, is that, hey, the little kid wanted to get something, some medicine, some Tylenol, all this stuff. So that's why we kept it open. So our majority of the sale after 10 o'clock is mostly grocery related. So our standard operation is till 11. But again, we adjust that based on neighborhood and the demands. And, if there is no sales happening, then we do, close early.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Kay Stevenson, your hand's up.
Yeah, just actually in response to Rich's comment, a reminder that there are recommendations from ATAG 3 currently being pursued by the city, and anyone who has suggestions for things that they think could be done better can submit those to ATAG at atlantaga.gov, and those will go to Alex Wan, the chair, and myself as the vice chair, and we will share those with the rest of our committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. Is there a motion?
Well, I do have one. This one was a difficult application for me because I, in principle, agree with Alex. I'm not a fan of distance waivers. I think the code exists for a reason, and coupled with ATAG still implementing their recommendations, it would have been my preference that this would have waited until after that was done, and I think some of this would have been cleaner. I'm not a fan of the of assigning a particular use, yet as Mr. Martin says, a hybrid approach where you assign a particular use and then have an application that is governed by a different use. But all of those issues are policy related. In terms of legal matters, my two concerns were distance requirement and not meeting them per section 1088, but if they're going to be governed by 1088-1, then they do meet the requirement. And if they have an ordinance waiving the distance requirement from another specialty food shop, then that would not apply either. My second concern was, by definition, a specialty food shop cannot be more than 5,000 square feet. And per the tax assessment office, it looked like it exceeded that by about 300 square feet. The city is satisfied that they are at 4,800 square feet. So given all of that, it will be my recommendation to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jane. Todd Corley, did you have a question about the application or the motion?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Are there any questions regarding the application or the motion? If so, please raise your hand. Okay. We're not voting yet. Do you have questions, or is your hand raised for voting? Vic Reinhold, do you have a question? Okay, everybody's hands down. So I will call for the vote. All those in favor of recommending approval, please raise your hand. Now you can put your hands up. Okay, numbers stop moving. That's 23 ayes. Okay, I'm going to lower your hands. There we go. All those opposed to the to recommending approval, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 2 nays. By a vote of 23 ayes and 2 nays, the motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I wonder, I've noted your opposition and I'm curious as to your reasoning. You usually have some, and I would love to hear your reasoning.
I am with Alex on this one, that I think it's premature to and inappropriate to support distance waivers. And so I'm voting to recommending to oppose it because of that reason. Given a lot of
Thank you. You don't consider it illegal or improper, just wouldn't be the decision you would have made if you were Alex.
I think it's a bad policy decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
on behalf of the Savvy North Highland team, I'd like to say thank you all for both in Morningside Lennox Park and for NPU-F for engaging in this conversation with us for these many months. Mr. Nair is prepared with his colleagues to be a good neighbor and to be a good business man here in the district, as he is with probably 25 or so locations across the city. So we look forward to you all shopping there, having a good experience, and we appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, thank you so much. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Happy holidays to you as well.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Alrighty, the next item. Okay, we do have one alcohol license application that is here for review and comment. This is Trader Joe's. It's a change of agent at a city food market. Are there any comments that we can share with NPU-E? Anyone have any concerns about alcohol sales at Trader Joe's on Monroe Drive? Okay, don't see any. Then we're going to move on to the next application. This is the Park Tavern 2024 Oyster Fest. It is a gated event. I believe it's 1,500 participants on February 10th and 11th at Park Tavern. And this will take place next year Is the applicant present?
Yep, I'm here, Debbie.
Oh, hey, how are you, Lee?
All right.
Okay, do you want to just give us a quick overview? I know this is a recurring event.
Yep, this is probably our 14th or 15th year doing this event. The majority of the event takes place inside of Park Tavern. The permit is mainly for the area that's outside of Park Tavern on the lawn, but on the Park Tavern side of the cart path, so it does not impede the meadow or the cart path. We do encourage people to Uber and Lyft, which we've seen over the years that most of the people who come to this event Uber, Lyft, or walk the Beltline now. And it is actually going to be we've always done application for for 2 days, but the only reason that's going to be the second day now is that we will actually have some activity on that Sunday day, but it was shut down early. So for the most part, the event does not change from anything that we've done over the past 13 plus years.
Right.
Hang on for a second. I'm going to mute a few folks here. Okay, I think we're good. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, and again, this for the most part, this event is not changing from what we've done every other year for this event.
Great. Are there any questions for Lee regarding this application? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve. So moved.
Second.
I think that was Todd Corley that made the motion and Rich Sussman that seconded. Is that correct?
It was.
Alrighty, thank you. Okay. Sarah Hamlin, your hand is raised. Are you getting ready to vote, or do you have a question? Nope, okay. Any questions for the applicant? I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to ask their questions. Alrighty. The motion has been made, properly seconded to recommend approval of this application. Are there any objections to approving the application? We will do this by consent here. Any objections? I don't see any hands raised. So the motion carries without objections. Okay, the next application, and we're zipping down through the agenda, is V23-188. This is 924 Virginia Avenue Northeast. This is the application we added at the beginning of the meeting. The applicant seeks a variance to reduce the half-depth front yard setback from 17.5 feet to 4 feet. A variance to reduce.
Bring it down far.
Please stay muted. Reduce the rear yard setback from 15 feet to 5 feet, to reduce the west side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet, and to increase the allowable lot coverage from 50% to 58.8%. Mark Arnold, do you want to give us a brief, emphasis on brief, overview of what your application is requesting?
Yes, thanks for adding this to the agenda. So I'm Mark Arnold. I'm representing Josh and Allie Hersko. I believe Josh is on the call. They bought the house at the corner of Maryland and Virginia Avenue. This is the house that was severely damaged by a tree several years ago and has been boarded up since, and has suffered a lot of neglect. So as much as I prefer to renovate properties, this is one that probably needs to be torn down. And it's a challenging lot because it's non-conforming. It has 48 feet of frontage, whereas a conforming R4 lot is supposed to have 50 feet of frontage, and it is only 7,501 square feet in area, where a conforming R4 lot is supposed to have 9,000 square feet of area. And then on top of all that, it's on a corner, and the corner lot is subject to a 17.5 half depth front yard setback. So 3 of the variance requests are setbacks. One is reducing the 17.5 foot half depth front yard setback to 4 feet. The current structure actually sits on the property line, slightly over the property line. So we'll be improving that issue and constructing it more in line with how these homes in this area were constructed back in the 20s and 30s. 4 feet is the narrowest. That's where the chimney and dining room bay window project out. For the most part, the house is actually 6 feet from the property line, but the actual variance request is for 4 feet. The other 2 setbacks deal with an accessory structure, which is in the back. It's proposed to be located at the back northwest corner of the property. It's the interior corner, and these come up a lot with accessory structures. We're proposing to reduce the 7-foot side yard setback to 3 feet, and we're proposing to reduce the rear yard setback to 5 feet. There is an alley at the back that we're taking advantage of as part of that setback. And then the fourth variance is the 58.8% lot coverage, which sounds huge, but it's not quite as huge as it sounds. The existing lot coverage on the site is actually 56.6%. And that's more a matter for information. We can't rely on that because we are proposing to take the house down, but that is how it exists now, with no green infrastructure in place or water capture. So we're proposing to increase that existing coverage to 2.2%, but the variance is to go from 50 to 58.8 because the actual ordinance is 450. We've hired Gaddy Surveying, and we have a full engineering site development plan, which goes to great lengths to actually make the equivalent lot coverage less than 50% through use of oversizing the stormwater capturing and the use of permeable pavers. And what we're showing is actually the minimum that we'll do. There's actually, my clients are talking to their neighbors to the west about doing the entire driveway in permeable pavers, but we're designing it for 58.8. It may actually be less coverage, but we're not going to reduce what we proposed in terms of capturing water. It's a fairly flat lot, and it's pretty much at the low point of what's there. So any water on the site is, we're calculating for the roof plus another 0.2 inches. So instead of capturing the first inch of rainfall, we're capturing 1.2 inches, and then and we'll probably be capturing some neighbors' water as well. And we've designed it so we're not covering more than what would be allowed on a conforming R4 lot. So we're not covering more than 4,500 square feet. And that's as brief as well, let me just say, and Josh may want to speak to this too, but we've Josh and Allie have met with the adjacent neighbors, and I'm happy to share a screen on any of this if you want, but they've met with the adjacent neighbors. I sat at the dining room table, the neighbors behind them that face Maryland. They have signed letters that they gave notice to the neighbors, the 3 adjacent neighbors, and then 3 across the street. And then they actually have a letter from the neighbors to the west and the neighbors behind them on Maryland and the neighbor across the street on Maryland. It's not just saying that we were given notice, but they actually approve of what's being proposed and have been given the opportunity to weigh in and comment on it.
Okay, are there any questions for Mark regarding this application? Virginia Highland? Is there anything you can report? I apologize for not getting this information before the meeting. Anyone here from Virginia Highland that has a report? Okay, I do know that they approved the application unanimously. Right, is there a motion?
I'll make a move to support.
I second.
Okie dokie. Last
But
chance.
I'd like to actually amend the motion. And this is per the discussion with Mark. This is conditioned on the site plan that he has submitted with it that contains the attributes of the stormwater capture that he listed, which are an integral part of the plan and of his approach. And that's dated, Mark. What is the date of the submission, please?
To 11/21/23.
Thank you very much. Conditioned on the site plan submitted and stamped by the city on 11/21/23.
I'm amenable to that modification.
I'm taking notes. Okay. Okay, any questions regarding the motion or the condition? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, I see 23 hands raised. I'm sorry, it's 25. Time to get new glasses. Lowering the hands. All those opposed to the motion to support with the condition of the site plan, please raise your hand. Dion Malik, did you have a question or are you voting? If you're opposed to the application, please raise your hand. Okay. All right, I don't see any hands raised now. So by a vote of 25 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, the next item on the agenda is V23-159. This is an appeal at 1739 Cheshire Bridge Road. The applicant seeks to appeal a decision by the City of Atlanta Office of Buildings to issue a correction notice to Cheshire Bridge Holdings LLC, which is also known as Tokyo Valentino. We don't take a vote on this application, and it is here for information only. So if anyone has any comments they want to share with the BZA, you can send them directly to them. Are there any questions regarding that? Okay. If not, then we'll move to the planner's report. Doug? Yeah, but the planner's report.
Yes, I do. Good evening, everybody. Doug Young, Director of the Office of Design. I'm here tonight as your friendly neighborhood NPU planner for NPU-F. So I do have a couple quick announcements, and I'll put a link to all this in the chat as well. A couple quick highlights. Some of these actually already occurred, so this might be a little bit old news for some of y'all. But the 2024 Community Impact Grant information session about applying for this year's round of CIG grants was held on December 13th. And that gave some information about how folks, NPU chairs and project managers could apply for this year's round of funding. And that was a requirement to attend if you wanted to be submitting an application for funding. NPU University is taking a winter break. So they will be back with courses in the new year. And you can look up those course options at npuatlanta.org as well. And that is it for the updates at this time.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Doug? I did attend the project manager's class for the community impact grants, so we are covered for this year. Okay, thanks, Doug.
Great, thank you.
Neighborhood and committee reports, Lundridge Martin Manor, do you have a report?
Yes, we were finally able to hold our Christmas winter event this past Saturday. It was postponed due to the flood the Saturday before, and everybody was happy. Santa Claus showed up. So all kids were happy, big kids and little kids. He went down the chimney.
Woohoo. Piedmont Heights?
Hi, Debbie. It's Bill Compton with Piedmont Heights Civic Association. Nothing to report this month.
Okay. No report. Morningside Lennox Park, anything to report? Virginia Highland, anything to report?
The Virginia Highland District had a very successful Winterfest despite a little bit of rain. And again, a good time was had by all.
Okay. Is there anyone here from Edmond Park? Or does anyone have a report from the Emory Druid Hills area?
Hey, Debbie, just a quick update from Emory. The graduate student housing project that many of you are familiar with from a few years ago is moving ahead on schedule, on track at the corner, on track at Haygood Drive and North Decatur Road. It's for graduate and professional students. And thank you again for the wayfinding sign approval, which will be an elegant addition to that corner of the east side of campus.
Great, thank you. The graduate student building looks really good. Education? Is Leah still here? I know she checked in a little earlier. Public safety, okay.
Yeah, just real quickly, there were several appreciation activities that went on between Thanksgiving and today. In Zone 6, several of the neighborhoods in Zone 6, not all of them in NPU-F, pooled our resources, and we had a catered meal from DBA Barbecue at Zone 6 for all of the officers. One serving in the afternoon and one overnight for the late shift. We also had enough funds to buy about 30 gift cards from Publix, which will be used as rewards for officers in Zone 6. And we also bought gift cards to DBA Barbecue for the firefighters at Station 19. In Zone 2, they also bought gift cards, and they've been doing that for about the last 10 years. They bought 125 gift cards for all of the Zone 2 officers. And at Thanksgiving time, they served Thanksgiving dinner to Fire Station 29 for all 3 shifts. So Thursday, on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the day of Thanksgiving, and Friday after Thanksgiving, they served them all their Thanksgiving meals. So that's something we just want you to know, that we're all contributing to through our neighborhood associations, to let all of those first responders know how much we appreciate what they're doing. And as you heard already, the unfortunate shooting in Virginia Highland, where a client of the Mercy Mission was killed, that individual has been arrested. I have his contact, his name and details, and I will be tracking that through Court Watch. We want to make sure that we do not ever see that individual in the neighborhood again. That's it for me.
Great, thank you. APAB report. APAB met in November and December since our November NPU meeting. Most of the meetings focused on the bylaw amendments following the strategic planning process that APAB has been working through for the last year. There have been some significant changes to the APAB organization. The first is that the number of officers has been reduced from 6 to 2, that's the president and vice president. The number of members has been reduced from a maximum of 75 members, which would make up the chair, delegate, and alternate. That is now down to 25 voting members, and that's 1 member per NPU. And the current committee structure is in the process of being replaced. So those committees are probably going to go away and have a new configuration. At the December meeting, a resolution from the Zoning and Land Use Committee asking the Planning Department to eliminate PDH and the PDMR zoning districts was introduced. I did vote against the resolution since most of the land left to develop here in NPU-F needs some PDH flexibility to make it work. And that motion did fail at the meeting. Community Impact Grant status reports. The 2023 Community Impact Status closeout is due December 31st. Please send me a detailed description of your project, the receipts totaling at least the amount that you were awarded, and photos if you have before and after photos, or if you have photos that you took during the activity. Please send those to me, and I'd appreciate them if they would come by the 29th so that I can package that up and get it out to get it back. We do have to close out by December 31st, or we will not be eligible for a 2024 Community Impact Grant. Doug mentioned that a little bit earlier. It's essentially the same program as in previous years. One change is that the NPUs can ask for a grant up to $10,000, which is pretty significant. I don't know how many of those will be granted, but it will be determined by the number of NPUs that submit requests. And I understand that there's only been a handful of NPUs that have requests in from previous years. So we have a pretty good shot of getting more money this year. The overall budget of the grant program is $110,000. So there is a fixed amount that's available, but we put your thinking caps on to see if we can take advantage of the higher grant amount. If you're interested, please let me know soon. We need to submit proposals by the end of February, which means voting on the projects is at the February meeting, and there isn't a whole lot of time between when we meet in February and when the grant applications are new. As a reminder, we're still looking for a co-secretary to help Carol out and a vice chair. Kay is stepping back from the responsibilities of vice chair. She has been wonderful to work with, so it's very difficult to replace, but we really need a replacement to help me out. And I also wanted to thank Jane Rawlings, who has shepherded us through some pretty difficult alcohol license applications for the last couple of years. Jane has moved to Virginia. She still owns her property on Lennox Drive, so technically she's still an NPU member, and I'm going to take advantage of that until she finally tells me to go away. But thank you, Jane. Thanks for being a friend and for all the work that you've done. That's it for the chair report. Before we adjourn, Todd Corley, I have not forgotten about you. This would be a good time.
No, you're good. Yeah, I did have a question though about the community impact grants.
Sure.
Is there a list of what would fall within the community impact grants? Like, are there certain projects or project types?
There is, and
Okay.
I'd be happy to send a copy of that to you. Which neighborhood do you live in? Which neighborhood, Todd, do you live in? Whoops, you need to unmute, please.
Glenridge Martin Manor.
Okay. We do ask that you connect with Glenridge Martin Manor Association to make sure that they're on board with your project, but it's definitely something that you can tie into.
Perfect.
Okay, did you want to take us through your statement?
I will. I apologize, my headset died, so you'll have to bear with me holding the phone. As Debbie has said, myself as well as several members of the community have prepared a statement. I'll start off just by reading a simple statement, and then I will take the community at large through our written formal statement. I'll provide a copy of the written formal statement after the meeting, and then certainly I think you'll get the gist of it. Madam Chair, members of the community, thank you for the opportunity and recognition. I'm deeply saddened that public officials in the Atlanta Department of Transportation representatives are not in attendance tonight, considering the recent events within our community. If I may take an opportunity to address the NPU and the community at large. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Todd Corley. I reside at 1164 Sheridan within the Glenridge Martin Manor neighborhood and within NPU-F. I'm here tonight really to speak on behalf of many members of our community around many issues that impact our community. As the Glenridge Martin Manor Neighborhood Association meeting is not going to be held until 2024, this message has not had an opportunity to be presented to them in advance. I will take time again to read the written statement aloud. I'll share it with you all because certainly I think what you'll see is we're really seeking collaboration from the community at large, the NPU-F, Glenridge Martin Manor, as well as the other neighborhoods that are part of our community. I'm going to transition now to the written statement. What I will say prior to reading this is that this statement was actually written before the recent events of the most recent Cheshire Bridge Road fire associated with issues that we're experiencing within the community in which we are seeking some solutions for. Ironically then, last night, as I think we all know, another bridge on Cheshire Bridge Road has experienced a fire and is now currently out. Diving into the letter itself, and again, I think earlier I had mentioned that this letter is addressed both to, well, really to the NPU, Glenridge Martin Manor, Atlanta City Council, Alex Swan, the Atlanta Department of Transportation, the City of Atlanta, Georgia Department of Transportation, and the Public Works Department. Subject line, seeking solutions for the Cheshire Bridge Road, Sheridan Road, La Vista Road, traffic congestion, and unaddressed concerns. The community along Sheridan and Elizabeth Ann Lane is reaching out regarding traffic congestion, infrastructure concerns, and speeding traffic along the Sheridan Road, Cheshire Bridge Road, La Vista Road area. Many years back, our community on this side of Glenridge Martin Manor fought to have speed humps installed on Sheridan Road, which have offered little improvement. The community has been bringing issues of excessive traffic congestion along this heavily traveled corridor since as early as September of 2022 and even prior. For well over a year now, the neighborhood community has communicated with Glenridge Martin Manor, opened multiple 311 tickets, as well as attempted to escalate those tickets, those 311 tickets, to address delays and inaction from the Atlanta Department of Transportation on prior NPU meetings. The transportation and infrastructure along the Cheshire Bridge Road corridor has historically been an issue, exacerbated recently with the apartment building fire at the intersection of La Vista Road, the subsequent road closure of La Vista Road, today's closure of Cheshire Bridge Road, again as a result of another bridge fire, and previously the collapse of Cheshire Bridge Road at the I-85 overpass. In prior NPU-F meetings, Rich Sussman has called for the city of Atlanta to have emergency procedures in such events in the future. Based on the historical traffic conditions, the current traffic conditions, the closure of La Vista Road, and little to no actual infrastructure improvements, the community does not feel that that ask goes far enough. Even prior to the most recent events, the community has just been asking for relief. The community feels our concerns are for the betterment of the entire community. However, even prior to the most recent events, the community has been asking for solutions. Our 311 tickets have been assigned to the Department of Transportation with no action, no resolution, no comprehensive infrastructure improvement plan to address these issues. We are not aware of any projects or initiatives by Linridge Martin Manor, the NPU-F, the Atlanta Department of Transportation, nor the City of Atlanta that is currently underway to help address this issue or the concerns of the community. The community is seeking immediate assistance and is requesting an in-person meeting at the intersection of Cheshire Bridge Road to discuss the issues plaguing our community. This, as I'm sure you all are aware, is a highly traveled corridor that has not seen the proper attention and investment over the past 10 years. There has been continued rapid expansion and growth and development with little infrastructure improvements to accommodate this growth. As tax-paying citizens, members of the community, and individuals who are frequently stuck sitting in this congestion, the community is simply looking for solutions to solve our problems. We appreciate the time and attention, and we will continue to bring these issues to light until we're able to find some mutually agreed upon solutions with the City of Atlanta. So this letter is written, I think, as you all can gather off the frustrations I feel like we all probably feel in some way, shape, or form if you've ever traveled the Cheshire Bridge Road corridor. And what we're asking and what we're seeking from the community as a whole, the NPU-F, the Linridge Martin Manor neighborhood, as well as all other neighborhoods within the NPU, is support, because we really feel like the city has got to step up and do something, because the issues only continue to get worse, and there's really no comprehensive plan to help solve the issues that we are faced with on a daily basis. So, Madam Chair, I really appreciate the opportunity. In the letter that we have prepared, we have a list of outstanding 311 tickets that have been open for over a year now to attempt to follow, the process in an attempt to get these issues resolved. And then many of the neighbors in our community on this end of Linridge Martin Manor have signed the letter in show of support. And again, we're just seeking support from the community, support from all of the neighborhoods within the NPU, and support from the NPU-F. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any action that we need to take tonight?
Not tonight, I don't think.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for your statement. Is there any other business to come before the NPU tonight? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Kay. Is there a second?
Second. This is Clint Hodges.
Oh, thank you, Clint. Okay. The meeting is adjourned. Don't forget that you can get a copy of everything that's in the chat. There are 3 dots at the very bottom of the chat screen. And at the top of the drop-down box that pops up, it says save chat. And if you save the chat, then you can get all the good information off of that. And I will leave the Zoom link open for a little bit to give you an opportunity to save it. But thank you all for being here. Happy holidays. Stay safe.
Good night, Debbie.
Good night.
Congratulations, Debbie. Only an hour and 34 minutes.
Oh,
Woohoo!
Bill, but no bonus tonight.
I kept my report short just for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Debbie, I'm so sorry. This is Hamid Gamestani from Persian Cultural Center of Atlanta. I sent a text, so we are good for tonight. There was no
Yes,
question, and
yes, you're good. You don't need to do a presentation. We approved your application. I'm sorry, I should have said that you're dismissed.
more get more understanding of these meetings. So that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Debbie, how do you save the chat? I don't
There
understand.
are 3 dots at the very bottom of the chat. There's a couple icons. I don't even know what they do. One, let's see. Format. Oh, I don't know. You can change the format. Screenshot. You could do that either. File. And the last one is emoji. And then there are 3 little dots.
I don't have 3 dots. But
Okay.
Debbie, I don't either. I used to be able to save these, so I'm not sure what's going on.
I don't either.
I have saved it, so I'm happy to share it with anyone who wants to send me an email. It's k.stevenson@gmail.com.
Thank you, Kay.
okay, thanks, Kay.
Thank you.
Y'all have a happy Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Linda Aaron?
Yes, I don't have those 3 dots either on chat. I haven't ever been able to save it.
I know, Linda.